As we all know, market research makes the world go round. Politicians wouldn't move without market researching anything they're about to do. No new product or brand comes onto the market without it being relentlessly market researched. And along the way, market researchers find out a lot about what we think about things, how we react to things, what we want from our lives. Today in Perth, there's a conference of the Australian Market and Social Research Society. It's the peak body for market researchers in Australia. Represents about 2,000 professionals. About 100 of them will turn up at a conference at Burswood. One of the speakers this afternoon is Derek Jones of D&M Research, and he joins me in the studio now. G'day, Derek.
G'day, Paul. How are you?
Good, mate. You're an expert on what women want.
Well, I certainly hope that at the end of this I will be. It's certainly a brave endeavour, but I certainly think that I'm starting to find some real gems in the work that I've done, yes.
Because you guys do segment markets, do you? You want to know in particular how different parts of markets and many products are aimed at women, so you'd want to find out what women are thinking.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, the way this came about really was from working in the commercial sector, and what I'm often asked to do, whether it's soap or whether it's, you know, jewellery, perfume, whatever, is to compare, to find out more about why people buy things and why they choose one brand over the other. So that process is about understanding not just what they say they want, but using some smarts to find out, you know, what actually attracts them to one brand or another. And I had this sort of epiphany moment where I said, well, hey, why don't I try and do this in something that's a little bit more interesting?
Yeah, so pursuing a commercial objective, you actually end up uncovering all this interesting social stuff.
Correct. But this study was actually dedicated to the task of really just trying to understand what it is that women want from men, but won't necessarily tell you.
So 2,800 Australian women in this survey. So what do they want from us?
Okay, well, look, there's been lots of studies. I'm sure everyone's heard one of the things that comes up in these types of studies again and again is the thing about humour, and that comes up regularly. What we did is we went through these 2,800 women and found out a whole bunch of things, which was like 660 odd attributes, which, as you can imagine, is huge. And when we asked them to rate those things, what came out on top of things like honesty and trustworthy, love and respect, you know, being together, sense of humour, kind and caring, which I think, you know, on the surface all seems to make sense. But when we went through our particular technique, which basically compares features of appealing people or partners to what women actually say important, what we found out, which is the explosive stuff, is that you can't underestimate the power of sexual attraction, masculinity and compatibility. These are things that were off the Richter scale compared to how women said they were important.
And these aren't their first responses.
No.
These are responses that by other forms of questioning you eventually get to as being the heartland issues.
That's exactly right. And that's what we call the polygraph technique.
So sex does sell.
Sex absolutely sells, but women won't tell you this. That's the thing.
So sexual attraction, good looks, shared similar interests. I suppose we knew that, didn't we? That's what mating with someone for life is all about. I mean, you rarely, I doubt, mate with someone who's got completely divergent interests and attitudes to yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it totally makes sense that those things are there, and it's not to say that women didn't say they were important, but they tended to be further down, you know, further down the hierarchy, and using these derived methods of questioning, we were able to bring them much further up to the top. So there's certainly things that are more important than women are willing to attest to.
Did you have a look at the sort of men they're attracted to in terms of role models, sort of men that they like?
Well, the technique actually relied on us putting up some, well, firstly finding out who could be, you know, men in the public eye that women could be attracted to, and vice versa, not attracted to. And so we certainly use that as an integral part of the technique.
In order, the sort of men that they like.
Well, this is going to be absolutely no surprise to any of your listeners. There's a man out there who seems to be in a stratosphere of his own. His name's Hugh Jackman. He gets almost an 8 out of 10 by Australian women, as voted by 2,800 women, with 2/3 of them giving him an 8, 9, or 10.
I think even blokes would find that understandable.
Yeah, well, even my daughter is, you know, looking on the couch and said, "Dad, geez, he loves his wife, doesn't he? And I think that fits perfectly with, with the study. So he's obviously
so he's not only sexy, but he's hitting all those other issues as well of trustworthiness and
correct. So he rates really high on those things that they won't necessarily tell you, as well as those things. And then really it's down to your Johnny Depps, your Clooneys, your Federers, and your Pitts. But there's I wouldn't say it's daylight, but there's certainly a reasonable size hill between the two.
Yeah. Interestingly, only Roger Federer's the only sportsman in there, so that's not something that's being rated highly.
Yeah, sportsmen tended to fall onto the bad boy list, particularly, you know, the sort of the Warnies and the Favolas and others. You know, they tended to be the footballers who would fall onto that list.
Now, this is the bit the blokes should maybe listen to the closest. What are the real turn-offs, the absolute turn-offs for women?
Yeah, well, the big things that women said were the main turn-offs were dishonesty, unfaithfulness, untrustworthiness. I think that makes sense. Angry and violent, I think that's a no-brainer. But also chauvinist, poor personal hygiene, although they tended to, what we found out later on was they would tolerate some of these things if other things were present, inconsiderate and rude. So at the heart of it, what they don't want is inconsiderate men, but you might get away with some of these bad boy behaviours as long as you are, you know, loving and caring, and she fancies you.
So you don't necessarily have to tick all the boxes.
Correct.
As long as some of the positives are really up there.
That's right. So at the core, be loving and caring, and don't be inconsiderate.
All right. Well, who's on their hit list?
Oh, definitely on the hit list for the bad guys. At the bottom of the list was Sam Newman. He got a sort of a 1.7 out of 10, and 90% of women putting him in the bottom three.
So obviously they think the footy show's got a male audience.
Yeah, well, they just I just didn't like him at all. You know, Woods and Warney, so the serial cheating, which is aligned with my results, and of course the shower snapper Brendan Favola didn't rate very highly either.
Yep, and so there's 4 sportsmen in a row, and the fifth on that list is Kyle Sandilands.
That's right. I think we all know why he's rated down there.
So, yep, the sports bad boys are way down there. Well. Yeah, I suppose that those guys don't really try. Well, Tiger did for a while. The rest of them don't try that hard to be role models.
Well, yeah, I mean, from just looking at the results that I've got, and that's all I can really compare it to, I don't see them ticking many of those boxes.
Now, you're the froth and bubble, I take it, at this afternoon's conference, are you? There's a fair bit of serious stuff.
There's a fair bit of serious stuff, and they've given me the graveyard shift of being last, and I guess that's part presentation, part entertainment.
So the thing is, Derek's going to take you to drinks.
That's right, hopefully.
Good on you, Derek. Great to talk to you.
Cheers.
Derek Jones from D&M Research, and he's at this Australian Market and Social Research Society conference at Burswood today. 9221 882.